As if ICE's public image wasn't already so bad, and it really is. The Washington Post has new reporting that indicates that a recent death of an ICE detainee is likely going to be ruled a homicide. This is a 55-year-old Cuban ICE detainee who apparently died at a Texas detention camp back on January 3rd. And wait till you see how the story about his death has evolved over the past less than 2 weeks. So at the time of his death, the agency said, quote, staff observed him in distress and gave no cause of death. Perhaps as part of a cover-up, one might speculate, perhaps because they just don't care, because they don't see him as a human. I think all of these are compelling potential explanations. But we do have more information now. This is coming out of a recording of a call an employee from the El Paso Medical Examiner's Office made to Lunas Campos, the man who died, his daughter, this week. In the recording, the employee said a doctor there is, quote, listing the preliminary cause of death as asphyxia due to neck and chest compression, which means Lunas Campos did not get enough oxygen because of pressure on his neck and chest. Pending the results of a toxicology report, the staffer said on the recording, quote, our doctor is believing that we're going to be listing the manner of death as homicide. And witnesses there at the facility, Camp East Montana, said that he died following a struggle with detention staff. All of that, of course, basically left off of the initial reporting of his death from ICE. Santos Jesus Flores, a man who says he was detained in the segregation unit the day Lunas Campos died, said he saw at least 5 guards struggling with Lunas Campos after he refused to enter the segregation unit, complaining that he didn't have his medications. Flores says that he saw guards choking Lunas Campos and heard Lunas Campos repeatedly saying the Spanish for "I can't breathe." Medical staff tried to resuscitate him for an hour, after which they took his body away. And then the agency leaped into action, concealing the nature of his death. Now, this is what Tricia McLaughlin, the DHS Assistant Secretary, says. If you're familiar with her, you know what this will be worth. But her statement is, Campos violently resisted the security staff and continued to attempt to take his life. During the ensuing struggle, Campos stopped breathing and lost consciousness. Medical staff was immediately called and responded. After repeated attempts to resuscitate him, EMTs declared him deceased at the scene. But apparently the medical examiner disagrees with the chief propagandist at the Department of Homeland Security and plans to rule the death a homicide. And I don't know what we're supposed to believe happened, that he was trying to take his own life, and at some point he stopped breathing. Not because the staff choked him, but because an extreme act of will that he cut off the flow of oxygen to his own lungs and brain. Was he choking himself? I had always been told that that's impossible, but I don't know, DHS seems to think that that's a good explanation for what's going on. Now, if you see the right talking about this at all, and you probably won't, what they will focus on is that the guy who died wasn't a good guy. He was apparently convicted of several crimes, including assault and sexual abuse. Sexual abuse in the case of Lunas Campos is a serious thing. Donald Trump being found guilty of sexual abuse is not even worthy of discussion. Never forget that. But by the way, I saw in the initial reporting of this tweet replies, which is just, he was a bad guy. I don't think that means that federal employees can murder him. That's not the country that I grew up in. Maybe that's the country we live in right now. But this is a bit of a pattern, Jordan. More and more people dying in ICE custody. You can see this is going back to the beginning of January, and the numbers are going up over time. We've had dozens of people already who've died, 30 just last year, the highest in 2 decades. And who can possibly claim to be surprised by that? Jordan, what do you think?
Yeah, this has all of the signs of yet another attempt by this administration to cover up a murder. The witnesses in that facility said that he was saying, yelling, I don't know what volume, I can't breathe. They want us to believe that he tried to take his own life, but then was telling everyone else that he couldn't breathe. Who would do that? If you're taking your own life, you're not yelling, I'm committing suicide. No. Eyewitnesses say 5 different people were on him and choking him. They tried to kill him for whatever reason. I don't care about his past. You want to deport him for that. I understand why you would want to do that. I object to killing him on the spot. That is barbaric. And like you say, John, if the standard for killing somebody is their past and sexual assault, bad news for Trump.
Yeah, not just Trump, by the way. Can't throw a rock in the White House without hitting a sexual abuser. So I guess you do whatever you want, I suppose. It's the purge when it comes to it. I obviously don't believe that. And look, maybe more reporting will come out. Maybe I would presume they have cameras in these facilities. Maybe in a year or 18 months, we'll finally see the footage and we can know for sure what actually happened. But look, I think if you are inclined to believe that these ICE agents are the most easily triggered people in America that absolutely lose it when anyone doesn't give them what they consider to be the proper amount of respect and react with high levels, perhaps lethal levels of violence, there is reason to believe that in recent news cycles. And so I would love more information. I'm sure the family of this man, regardless of his past, would like to know the nature of his death. But again, do you really believe that they're gonna do an actual investigation into this? Why would they? What is the incentive from their point of view?
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.